She had to attend religious classes, but the only way there was to go through a thick forest. Neither the sun nor the moon could shine through the densely packed trees, and since no one else in her class lived in her neighborhood, she always had to walk there and back completely alone. The first couple of times was nerve-wracking, but after a few weeks, she had grown used to the darkness and had her way home memorized. One night after class, she was headed home on her usual path, guided by her flashlight. She heard a rustling behind her, but she ignored it. She had memorized all the sounds of the forest by now and knew it was just the stray cat that liked to roam in the area. She took another couple of steps before she heard a thump. That was a new sound. She stopped walking so that she could listen for the sound again. It sounded like it was getting closer. Imelda took a deep breath. She aimed her flashlight in the distance. The light beam fell on something, but she couldn't quite make out what it was since it was so far. It looked white and, judging its size compared to the trees, tall. She continued to stare, trying to figure out what she was looking at. Then whatever it was jumped about 40 meters closer to her. Imelda took a few steps back. How did it jump so far so quickly? Then it jumped again. It was now right in front of her, and there was no longer any doubt in Imelda's mind what she was looking at. It was a decaying corpse, wrapped in a white shroud, bound at the top of its head, its neck, and its feet. Its withered, pale green face was the only thing exposed. It had 2 deep holes where eyes should have been. Imelda screamed and ran in the other direction. She knew the forest well and decided to take a different path back home to try and lose this figure following her. She squeezed her small frame through a very dense section of trees and crawled through the other side to her neighborhood. She looked behind her briefly to see if it was still behind her, but she couldn't see it. When she got to her house, she ran up to her mother. "Mom, something was following me in the forest. It was wrapped in white and it looked dead." Her mother had an eager look on her face. "Did you hug it?" Imelda stared back at her mother in complete disbelief. "Why would I do that? I never want to touch that thing. I don't want to see it ever again." Imelda burst into tears. "You were lucky enough to see a pocong," her mother explained. In Muslim burials, a dead body is wrapped in a white shroud and tied at 3 spots: above the head, on the neck, and at the feet. After 40 days, the body is unwrapped so the soul can be freed. But if left untied, the body will look for a living person and won't stop following them until they're unwrapped. "And if one is following you," her mother continued, with more excitement than Imelda was comfortable with, "you must hug and hold it tight so it will bestow your family with good luck and riches. Don't you want us to be rich?" "I don't want to touch it, Mom." Something hit the door. "Imelda, you have to open the door." She grabbed Imelda and held her in front of her while Imelda protested. "Do this for us, sweetie." Her mom opened the door. There stood the pocong, looking down at Imelda's tear-filled face. Her mother pushed her forward and Imelda held onto the shrouded corpse. Then her mother helped her pull the pocong to the ground so they could untie it. They stared at the motionless corpse on the floor and wondered, did it work? Over the next few days, Imelda's mother was the most cheerful and giddy she'd ever been. She poured herself many cocktails in premature celebration of her incoming wealth. She drank a little too much one night and was struck dead on the road. Imelda was devastated by the loss of her mother, but her pain was eased when she was adopted by a very wealthy family.